Okay, so we have. I was hoping to hear from MCord and ACord just what they're up to because we didn't really talk about them too much as we were going through release planning. And I know in both cases there's a lot in the works. Um, and if we don't quite get to all that this time, we can move a little bit to next time. Apologies in advance. I wanted to start with a couple more actionable things. The first one being where we stand with the mysterious decision release. Uh, I don't know, David. I know you had put in a fix to Charles's flagged problem. Any comments, updates?
Okay, I haven't seen that test verified yet, or that fix verified yet, so I would say that is still not. Um, I still the release is not ready. I also just did a verify quickly this morning on some of the in the Docker containers we're using uh, label schemas, which include versions information, and I don't think that actually has been updated in the release branch either. So that's a minor textual issue, but I think that is not ready. The VTN app, I hear the VTN is still not working. So I think that's also needs to be fixed. Else we've got a blocker there. So at this point, I'm guessing that we are, unless I hear otherwise, we're not ready for release.
That was my assumption too. Andy's with me. I'm in New Jersey, by the way. Andy, any other?
Um, I only know a couple more minor issues um, with the release, so I think maybe there's some small documentation updates for Cord in a Box to um, to use the Cord 2.0 branch instead of master in the docs, and also maybe some updates to the quick start physical file because I think that's a little bit out of date. Um, there's an issue right now with the Cord 2.0 branch not loading the right version of the Cord apps. Um, this is an XOS issue, so it's looking for apps at a particular URL, and that URL is wrong because the version number is different. So we need to fix that. But these are pretty small fixes, I think.
All right. So we got a couple small things. Ali, I thought I saw Ali on, but I don't hear him. All right. So the TST is really not the place to deal with this because we meet weekly. But this is a stand-up tracking issue.
So how close are we
Yeah,
to the release?
great
Right,
question.
because one of the things we had talked about was because of some of the requirements from the fabric, we're actually pulling in a snapshot version of ONOS instead of a released version of 1.8. And so in order to cut a 1.8.1 release, it'll take us about 2.5 to 3 days, or 2 to 3 days. And so depending upon how long some of these changes are going to take, is it worth the time for us to try to get a released version of ONOS that we're dependent on instead of the snapshot, which hasn't gone through the 2 days testing that our RCs normally go through.
Anyone want to weigh in?
So I can weigh in. This is Andy. I on the list of issues that we just mentioned, I imagine that in order to get those fixed and tested is going to take on the order of 2 to 3 days. Um, and so it sounds like that the timing might actually be okay if that's when the bonus tag version will be ready.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay, can you clarify again for me? I'm sorry, this is Donna. Um, uh, there are fixes going into ONOS, and instead of pulling in a snapshot into our Cord version 2.0, we're gonna spend time hardening it ONOS the next couple of days before pulling that into 2.0 and then having a GA 2.0. Or
Yes,
are we
that's what
talking?
we're proposing.
Okay, so it's a total of 2 to 3 days, not.
It'll be 2 to 3 days to get the ONOS 1.8.1 version, and then we'll have to create a updated release candidate based upon Cord, make sure that's tested, and then we'll be able to release it if there are no other issues.
Okay.
The ONOS work
Sorry.
is happening in parallel. This is not sequential. So it's happening anyway. It's just a matter of when they stamp it. Then, if we haven't yet released,
we could do an RC based upon that, and that'll only take, I think, 3 to 4 hours for us to get a tagged version.
Right. So that seemed perfectly reasonable. Anyone else with known issue? Go ahead.
Can we get all the issues into Jira? I'm not seeing a lot of these issues getting into Jira and making sure that they're noted as blockers. Because what's happening is when we're not listing version numbers, and so once we get version numbers in the future, we can actually do a pretty good job of getting release notes generated from Jira. But what's happening is I'm not seeing these new issues show up in Jira's either. And so it's harder to track the ones that are impacting Mysterio's decision.
So the TST anoints you the person to keep harping on that so that we can track this, because we really are, there's too much ad hoc stuff going on here. So thank you. Anyone else? So I know about all these. The VTN I've seen on Slack. What's the prognosis on that?
There seems to be a problem with an error with having to do with ONOS storage. I don't really understand in detail what the issue is, but the last thing I saw on Slack was that Jono had some ideas and he was testing something now.
Okay, so it's actively being worked on. The Fabric fix that David's done is actively being worked on. You're actively working on the docs and the XOS app, and we are now actively waiting on the ONOS really official 181. All right.
But is Jono's change in ONOS or on the Cord side?
I don't know the details.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was looking at the issue. It seems to be pointing to an issue in Copycat actually. So there seems to be some fixes upstream that I was going to try and test with ONOS and see if it fixes the problem. But if it does fix the problem, then we have another problem of how do we start making use of those fixes, because they're not released yet. So I guess the first thing is to verify whether they do actually solve the problem, and then if they do, we can talk about how we actually pull those into Cord 2.0.
If they're in ONOS, the ONOS team, so I chatted with Thomas, Ray, and Yo should be ready to do a 1.8.1 release pending kind of our go-ahead.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is that if I'm right about what the problem is, then it's not a fix in ONOS, it's a fix in a third-party library.
In which library?
Copycat.
Copycat library. Oh. Yeah. Well, I mean,
But this is the storage problem, which has actually been around for a long time, but we seem to be running into it much more frequently than we used to.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, we've been so the way we've been dealing with copycat in the past is to we have our
Yeah, I know we used to release our own version of it, so we could go back to that if we have to.
Jono, is
well,
this the same issue that's been causing the clustering store issues?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it has the same symptoms, so
Because yeah, I guess copycat the author was like on vacation for like a month, but he just came back and put some patches in, and we've
right.
been doing some testing on the new patches that seemed to at least minimize it, and such in the clustering issue, things weren't hanging anymore anywhere or getting as corrupted, I guess. I don't know if you've tested with those new patches or not.
I haven't yet. I was looking at that today, but
Okay.
you're saying that it may not be a full fix to the issue.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily is a full fix. I think this is one of those issues that is going to be around for a long time until Copycat, or actually whatever it is, hasn't even released one yet, right? They're still RC candidates, technically. Um, so until the product matures, we're going to find things like this, I think.
Sorry, we agreed that these are all blockers and we're holding off the Onos and Cord 2.0 release.
No, I don't think we're agreeing to that. I don't know what Onos would do. Given the state of Cord, if we can, well, this sounds like it's an occasional failure. If we note in release notes and dictate how one might patch it if you wanted to, we could proceed.
Proceed
Is
with
it a
GA.
recoverable failure? Which means
Yeah.
if it fails, is there a process to recover it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, I'm asking the question. Is there a process to recover it?
Well, let's wait.
Yeah, so destroying the Onos cord container, restarting it, and then reinstalling XOS will usually recover from a failure in that container. We've been able to do that, and we can document that procedure.
Reinstalling XOS. You mean?
Well, remaking XOS. So the make cleanup, make VTN, make cord, that cycle. So not a
lose
3 hour
data
process.
if I have right.
minute.
If I have services at that point, do I lose those services?
In that case, yeah, this would be a database wipe. So this is not something you would do on something you wanted to be persistent. This is what you would do if it came up, if you just did a fresh install and it was broken. You didn't want to go through 3 hours worth of reinstalling. There's probably a procedure that could preserve your database. Just a matter of reinstalling the Onos cord container and then going into XOS and dirtying the various objects that need to be resynced to that container. We could probably come up with a process for that if we wanted to.
So I'll be honest, I don't think you doing the make where I'm getting the data wipe, the make, clean, rebuild, I don't think that's a recover process because you do lose the data. The other thing, which, yeah, we could document, but it sounds like in that case it's very, very complex even to recover.
Yeah, but David,
I'm not sure I'd call that either one of those a recovery process.
well, except that we've made no claims about operational stability of Cord. It's being used now primarily as a development environment in anticipation of being operationally stable. I mean, we could go down a pretty long, deep rat hole here on what we're promising people. I'm just pointing out that we have put little effort into any kind of SLA in what we're delivering. Someone was going to object.
Okay, anytime I see something called 2.0,
well, wait a minute.
I expect a little more.
Wait a minute. You will recall I objected to calling this 2.0 because I thought it did say something about its advancement that is just not there. And everyone insisted, no, it's 2.0 because the interface changed.
Yeah, and I understand that. And I was on the side of 2.0 because an interface changed. There was a compatibility interface.
But it does indicate, this is Donna, it does indicate a certain amount of maturity and stability, and what we just talked about a few minutes ago is not that. And if we're going to say that we don't guarantee an SLA, and this is proof of concept demo dev, then 2.0 is probably not the right versioning. because the market is going to see this as again, a bit of a guarantee when you're incrementing at a major release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, well, we all understand where our history is and how we got here, but I mean, we are not able to make SLA guarantees on an operational system yet, and holding, you know, holding some parts of the system to that standard and not others doesn't seem to make sense. But
remember, this is an open source software base, right? It's up to the partner to bring it to some level of SLA, right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't, do as much as we possibly can to get this to that type of level, but we're not creating a product here, right? We're creating an open source software release, which is a base for partners to build a product upon, right? And it's a full expectation that the partners are going to put in a heck of a lot more testing and bug fixing to get it to that level.
Then why version it, I guess? All right, I'm confused, and maybe this is a parking lot.
Version. It's not a product version. It's an open source release version, right? Once RadOSys wants to release it, they can call it whatever they want, right?
I get my role in I mean, from a RadOSys standpoint, I'm just talking about us as a community. Why version this as when we talk about major version to minor, I mean major to major and no backward compatibility, and we're talking product level. So if we're not talking product release, it's a referenceable implementation.
But
we should document.
We're borrowing some terminology, that's true, and the rationale was that we did make a change to the API, and that was the justification. I didn't say anything about the stability of the API. I just said we made a change to the API, and we're noting that by major version change. I completely agree, though, because people do read into that 2.0 something that is not there.
Right.
So the alternative is to keep releasing it with names and not with numbers.
True.
I'm more aligned to that. I mean, it then takes it takes this argument completely off the table of level of maturity, right? And then we document, on our wiki, to level set the expectation of the vendors and to the operators, right? Because the operators, I'll tell you from experience, because we're dealing with that right now with an operator, is that they have an expectation of a certain level of maturity that when we're downloading these bits, what our investment back in from an SI standpoint.
But Donna, I mean, you really think that vendors are going to be deploying just by downloading some code off the website? They're going to be deploying them? I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you to be the one hardening it. I mean, we're making version numbers, revving version numbers to indicate API changes and incompatibility going forward. And according to the version number, what we're saying is that Cord 2.0 components in Cord 2.0 are not backward compatible with components in Cord 1.0. That's perfectly true, and we're abiding by those rules. Now, if you want to make a claim of stability, that is a whole different issue. Now, it's not the version number that's going to tell you whether a product is stable. I mean, this is well known, right? It's just because something is called 2.0, it doesn't mean that it's bug free, right? There's always going to be bugs. I think we should fix this current bug before we make a release. I'm not entirely sure I understand the complexity of fixing it because I haven't been involved in those discussions, but I don't have a problem with calling something Cord 2.0 or 2.0, even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles a service provider would expect.
So I think it sends a mixed message to the operator on the level of maturity and what they're investing in, but that's just my voice. Versions, as I'm understanding it from this conversation, don't consider them GA, don't consider those SLAs. Those will be provided by the vendor.
Yeah.
And I recommend that if this is the position, is that we make this clear, you know, in writing, right? In
Sure.
the wiki, and that's just, and then then at least I understand. I guess I just, I'm
Well,
learning.
Donna,
So,
we certainly aspire to better than what we are now. There's no doubt about that. But it is the case that we are not producing production quality code here. So
release
I'm
candidate
willing.
to GA. Just one more. So qualify for me, just so I understand. Release candidates, these number of release candidates, and our goal to get to GA for 2.0.
We're not calling anything GA because we don't do GA.
So where do I go from release candidate?
From release candidate, you get a release version, which has been deemed stable enough. GA is something that comes with support and a set of a proper product that a company would release, not a small non-profit with 4 engineers running behind each other trying to put this thing together.
But I think where some difference is you said the release is cut when it's stable enough. What Owen Lab may consider stable enough or supportable enough, and what the general industry thinks is reliant enough, stable enough, whatever. I think there's a delta there. And while I understand that vendors will take the Owen Lab release and harden it, hopefully submitting all those changes back to Owen Labs. I am not sure with
It's
the
not to
state of
Owen
Otis
Lab.
crashing.
You need it those hardening rolled back into the core. I mean, otherwise we're going to end up running all these splinter releases and then
Exactly.
redo
and
it
that's the
every
point.
time.
Yeah.
That's the point. But I'm not convinced with the bugs we're talking about with the storage crash in Onos that, in my mind, we've even hit the reliability standards that we want from an open source project perspective.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. What would it take to what would it take to fix this bug before a Cord release?
I don't think we know. Unless you're asking for a standard.
Hmm?
Well, this bug is an Onos bug. Is that kind of the consensus or agreement? And Onos is at far more releases than Cord is. I think with this latest patch set from the third-party component around the distributed data stuff, there's some significant improvement. Is it perfect? No, but we have Onos that's relying on a pre-release third-party library.
One question, is this bug introduced because the new feature added?
I think my personal opinion is it's been a latent bug for a while, and we've just been hitting it now more and more, and it's largely a timing issue, and based on the hardware being used in testing and the stress putting on the system, it can be exposed. That's my personal opinion. I don't know, Jono, you might have a better insight on that.
I agree with that totally.
We had originally intended to get some of these clustering defects into the 1.8.1 release, right? And I think it's because of the Cord 2.0 dependency on some of the recent fixes that we're actually pulling an early release on the Ono side. But the intent was to make sure that those fixes got into 1.8.1. Those fixes are not done yet.
Well, so we keep the mysterious decision pending, and on what we learn in the next few days.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make back, trying to unroll this a little bit to a recovery script, is if there's an intermittent bug, I'm not sure the right thing to do in ONOS because of a package it depends on. I'm not sure the right thing to do is to hold up mysterious decision on account of that. And that my rationale was it is still a usable system by those not actually operating central offices, which would be the majority of our users right now. But I can see where there could be differences of opinion on that standard.
I guess the other question is, Larry, I think you had mentioned this before, is do we do a 2.0 and then once ONOS has the fixes, right, do another maintenance version?
Yeah, that's the other out here, which is to do a release with the best we have, and then realize that we'll do a 2.01 or whatever maintenance release once ONOS is patched.
I guess my concern is customer perception or user perception. People are going to try this out, and the more they get frustrated with using it, the more they may be harder to get them back to try again.
Yeah, you risk
And
adoption.
Yeah, they experienced that with 1.0 a little bit, and it's understandable. It's really 1.0 pre-release. They're really testing it out. But if now they're getting it with 2.0, and regardless of what we write down in terms of SLAs from own labs or whatever, they're going to pull this out and they're going to look at it and say, "Oh, still not ready. I'll come back in 6 months, a year, maybe never." It's very frustrating for these people.
Can we make a slight compromise where we say we delay the Cord release until at least the end of the week, and at the end of the week we can revisit this problem, or beginning of next week rather?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think we still don't know quite enough. I think that's the easy.
Let's delay the release until and reconvene at the next TST, and then we can make a decision. If things get fixed faster, then great. If they don't, then we'll reconvene next TST, and we'll make a decision at that point in time.
I agree.
Mysterious decision?
A mysterious decision.
Yeah. Rightfully branded. Oh my goodness.
Well, just think about the names coming down the pipe.
It's scary.
I think I want to say is, in operators, sometimes we know, okay, this initial release is not usable release. We can still take it because we understand a lot of development is bundling around. But my concern is I don't know when you release 2.0 and then you have all other developers developing against it, and then suddenly you found the fix, and then everything else will be changed. So I do think a little time. I mean, get a little bit more time to find the root cause, and see whether whether the fix affect other applications. Then I think that 2.0 can be acceptable, but we just don't we just know we're not going to use it or deploy it.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good observation. I mean, the likelihood is this is not going to change the interface, but we should let's pick it up in a week. Okay, the easy stuff. Sort of related is the next release of the documentation. Charles has asked for a flip over of the wiki to the next version so that he can enter documentation in. I was going to suggest not doing that, but I realize that I'm old-fashioned in a certain way about documentation. Is that what everyone wants to do?
So this is Charles. My question is very simple, right? If right now I have a documentation for 2.0, where should I put? If I have a documentation for master, where should I put?
And the answer is what documentation is, so what documentation is this? Is there an existing, we're getting background noise from somewhere. If you could mute if you're not talking. Thanks. All right, Charles, so what documentation were you talking about?
The wiki documentation, for example, like the fabric designer, fabric installation guide, configuration guide, something like that.
So my recommendation would be that you either put those edits in line and then organize subsections to talk about different variants, or you archive a particular document and then you write a new one and you reference the old one as obsoleting it. So that's sort of an explicit management of those versions.
Okay, so you mean that the main document on the current wiki should always be the master, right?
Yes.
Or the latest.
So,
okay.
Right. The ones
it would be nice. I'm going to reference MAS here. If you go to the MAS documentation from Canonical, they have a selection box on the left side, version selection box, so that when I'm looking at API documentation, for instance, I can say, hey, look at version 1, version 2. It would be valuable, I think, in terms of documentation as we get more and more versions on the wiki to be able to kind of select which version I'm looking at.
Okay, so
that's what we can do that out of the technology.
Right, we have the technology. That's what ONUS does, and we could do that with Cord. I was proposing not doing that, but like I said, I'm old-fashioned about the way you manage documentation. Can you? Does anyone know if you can do that selectively to, say, the documentation page and not do it globally for the entire wiki? Well, let me ask.
Does ONUS do it for the entire wiki?
Well, I thought it was the entire wiki. You get a version of it. Maybe I'm mistaken.
What ONUS does is to archive the entire wiki, which just basically clone that into some kind of namespace.
Right, you clone. I think it's this. Where is it?
If you archive the entire wiki, that's a terrific amount of work. Even to a lot of pieces that maybe don't need updated documentation.
I think Content does it. But the issue that ONUS is running into is they've only archived up to 1.5 because the tool that they're using to clone it is dying because the wiki is so large.
Okay, perfect. That's the answer I was looking for. Sorry. So, Charles, what I would propose, unless we can do this clone and archive of just the documentation subpages, that you clone basically the document and redo it, and then modify it, and then reference the old one, the predecessor, or you do it inline in that document with different sections somehow.
Sorry, Larry, just want to make sure. Do you mean that I only do that for on a single page basis, or do it for the entire documentation section?
Well, I was assuming that you were trying to solve this problem for some particular page or a small set of pages.
Sorry, can I say it again? I didn't get the first part.
I was assuming you were doing it for one page or a small collection of pages you were directly going to edit.
Okay, I'm good with any options. It's just anything, if we can agree on it, I can do it. Yeah.
So another thing to do is take a look at what I did with the roadmap as an example of what you could do. Master always has the latest. If there is a particular version of a particular document that only applies to creamy vegetable, then you create a creamy vegetable page and link it off of that.
Also, when you save a change to the wiki, if you edit what did you change, I think that comment shows up in the history when I do a page history. So if you're like going to branch a document page for a new release, it's possible to say, hey, start new release here or whatever. And then when someone goes back and looks at page history in the wiki, they'll at least see where those breaking points are.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
For me, it's okay to do it page by page because I only have 1 or 2 pages to edit. But I'm thinking if other people is also doing it, if other people is doing the same thing, then it might be worthy to have to clone the entire stuff. But I don't know.
I would do it. Why don't I work with you and we'll solve your particular problem, and then we will propose that as a general strategy to everyone else.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good.
And like I said, I had already gone into roadmap and started to adjust in this way and archived the old roadmap, just that one page. And I did the same thing with service inventory because I knew clearly every rev these were going to change. Documentation, some changes, some doesn't, and everything else, little else changes. There's a lot of stuff there that would be constant. All right. Next topic is the QCT proposal. So I hope folks have had a chance to look at it. They are offering to dedicate engineering time and a cluster of servers. I think it was 12 servers. Any feedback or comment for them? It seemed like a pretty reasonable proposal. Do I hear any concerns about accepting their proposal?
Are we not having them come on to the TST and give a short 15, 20-minute thingy like we usually do?
Well, we could do that. I mean, our model really is whether we deem it necessary to do that. We could invite them. I mean, this has lingered for a little while. You want to hear from them? I mean, I completely agree that it would be good to not just stamp approval and never talk to them again, that we really need to find a way to bring them in. I was hoping that Suchitra might find a way to work with them and take advantage of what they're offering for testing.
Yes, Larry, definitely.
Are you aware of what they proposed? I don't remember how widely this was distributed.
No, I do not remember anything about that, but I can get back to them. If you have context, can you please pass me?
I will definitely do that.
Yeah, I can get a word with them and then see what they're proposing.
So they are proposing to assign engineering resources to assist setting up Cord pods that uses OCP hardware. They have equipment available, at least 12 nodes at present, to provide Cord lab usage, and an engineer to help take advantage of those resources. And in evangelism, they have a solution center in San Jose that they would help the Cord community do integration testing and showcasing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, please send me across those contacts. I will get in touch with them, Larry.
Great. So for TST members, how do you want to proceed?
I mean, I think I had just lost the thing from David Boswell saying, please review this from QCT. I just quickly took a look and it looks really good to me. The one question I had was, were they trying to build this locally, or would they build this back back in their headquarters in Asia, or these 12 nodes, are they giving it to us, or are they 12 nodes that they'll build in their labs?
So they refer to it as 12 nodes to provide quote, Cord lab usage. I'm guessing that's in their facility, and they do reference San Jose, although they don't quite put those two together.
They have a very nice facility in San Jose.
Yeah, Bill, remember when we met with the QCT guy, Ulysses, in China, he mentioned that this would be in, if I remember right, it would be in their office in San Jose. So, and he was very willing to help. They are coming on the 20th to ON Lab, so we can surely have Saurav and others talk to them about it.
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and accept, and I mean, to get what we really want out of all of these collaborations, we really have to pursue them and, and make contact and take advantage of it. They're saying all the right things. Whether there's follow through is what only time will tell anyway.
Yeah, no problem from my side.
Andy? Ali?
I'm okay with it.
See who else is on there. Mark? I'm not looking at my...
I'm okay with this.
Okay, is there anyone else on that I'm missing? Not that I see. So, all right, let's give them the thumbs up. I'll let David know, and then we'll follow through. I'll follow through with the information for you. Okay, so now we got a whole 15 minutes left. Ping Ping, why don't we, if you're available, can we start with you and just tell everyone, all of this activity is going on. I know you guys are preparing for Mobile World Congress. Can you give us a summary of, and whoever else you have lined up to speak for the next few minutes about that, just so everyone is understands what all is going on?
I can introduce it.
Please do. Did you want the screen or just talk through it?
I want to share my screen because on the slides I only have some description. On my laptop I have a picture. It's better to show the people.
Okay, I just made you presenter.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Here is the MCOD roadmap. Here is the same with what I report in this talk. This is both for MWC. MWC is at the end of February. This is our current roadmap. We haven't made a roadmap beyond the February. So I reported the MWC plan. The first part here is the demo summary. We will going to ship 2 racks. One is a 6U rack, MCOD mini rack. Another is a full pod rack to MWC. And we will, here is some of the new capabilities for MWC from this is the new capabilities from last October. The first one is disaggregated MME. We will separate the MME into session management and mobility management into 2 components, which means we're running in 2 VMs. The second feature is the connectionless EPC data plan to replace the S gateway and P gateway data plan just with a single OVS. The third feature is the open source EPC from Redis. And the fourth one is the slicing, the APN and the MZN number-based slicing. The last feature is the Intel Layer 1 plus Redis Layer 2 and above. This will compose the RAM and will run on x86 architecture. Together with this, we have some other use case, like public safety is one of the use case, and assurance and the service, which include the testing and active testing and service, and the passive monitoring and the service. This will from VRV. So this is the overall plan for the MWC. I can give you one more picture here. It will be looks like this. From the right side, this box will be we will have 2 versions. On MCOD Mini, we will still KVM. On the full rack, we will have Intel plus Redis. This compose the new RAM. You know the KVM is based on ARM, and the Intel one will based on x86. For the right side, you can see the MME is already running in 2 boxes. I already talked about that before. And for the data plan here, this is the second part here. The yellow box, orange color box is no longer the SKDV and PKDV data plan. It's just we use OVS instead. Here we show the two slides. On both the MCall Mini and the full rack, we will have several slices. This is the overall plan for MWC. Larry.
Is it online? Can you show the first picture again?
Where's the picture?
First racks, Mini and U6 and.
Oh, I see. Okay. You mean this one, right?
Yeah. So now we are building in the OneLab. We are also building the Cord Mini, which includes the three compute nodes, one head node, and one OCP compliant switch. And also, nowadays we are trying to we are figuring out how to use the ARM in the Cord system, because we have to use it. We have to add ARM manually, because the mass at the Cord system couldn't handle the ARM nowadays. So this is now nowadays we are working on.
Yes. Also, some details like for example, MME we only have one service. Right now we are working on from one MME service to boot two VMs. Maybe it should be two tenants. So we are working on those details. We haven't started the service chaining inside XOS. We are working on boot multiple VMs from one service those days. This is just the details, so I just gave it. So what I finished is the overall plan for MWC. I am done.
So Ping Ping, let me see if this interpretation of the picture you're showing is still correct. After you hit the RAN, you've got the control plane with the disaggregated MME, but you have two possible data planes. You've got the legacy, and then you've got the connectionless. So this is a means by which one can incrementally, the demonstration here is a way to incrementally add connectionless gateway to an existing running side by side or in parallel with the existing legacy system, right?
It will parallel, yes. It will run at the same time with two paths. Because for the IoT device, you can see the yellow UE here on the left is a static IoT device. So the IoT device have a feature, it doesn't move. We don't need the mobility feature. So for this case, we just the MME receive the receive the request from the UE. It will directly create a path for this IoT device. Use the connectionless slice.
Right.
For the legacy phone in the blue box, we still use the full path like SKDV, PKDV, and before.
And so the disaggregation of the MME has carved off. The print's too small to read, but it's carving off the gateway management. What is that? What do the words there say?
Session versus mobility management.
So, it's session management separate from mobility management. Got it. Thank you.
Yes. Because both Google and our MCall team, we want to do the MME disaggregation. For the IoT device, we don't need the full MME functions, so we separate it. And in this case, at least we can, one of the reasons is we can save the compute resource.
Good, thank you. And this is all based upon mysterious decision, right?
This is for the dangerous addition.
But what you're running, dangerous addition, the platform does not exist. So everything that you're doing to implement this is something you can do today in mysterious decision.
Yeah, right. we haven't right now we just implement inside the MCore team, and for the release, for the form of our official release of the code, we will release it in the dangerous edition, because this will release in May, so we can finish it in March, so we can have time to really release it in dangerous edition. For the mystery, we implement it in the mystery. We need to move it.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was assuming. I just wanted to make sure. And the back to your previous picture, can you point to the pieces that are the Radisys open source pieces?
Oh, another key point. The Radisys here. The whole. You can see my my screen. The MME, the whole MME, SKV, PKV, and also the connectionless. Right now, Radisys will open source the whole things here.
Oh, so the Radisys code included the connectionless gateway.
Yeah, we already have something the PKTV use OS. They will change it to the connectionless. Their team working on it.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ping Ping or the MCord folks?
I think I can add one more information. Is last week Intel came here. Intel shared their EPC, mainly SKV and PKTV. They focus on their data plan is really good. The performance of their data plan, because they integrated the DPDK. They also showed the performance test, so their data plan is really good. For long term, we will both use Intel's and Radisys.
So,
and then Intel also going to open source their EPC.
And for MWC, is the Intel code going to be running some as side by side, or there are two different demos? Is that right?
I think so far I can say is Intel themselves internally they did a lot of work. They used to use ODL. Right now they're moving to Arnold. Like they plan to use the XOS. Their team internally did a lot of things. Maybe themselves can record a video, and maybe we bring the video. We haven't totally sat down it yet.
Okay, thanks. Asim, do you have anything to add just with respect to the demos going forward? Sorry to put you on the spot. Just wondering if there's you had a different take on anything here.
No, I think Joseph from Radisys is running the show, as all of us know, and he and Murat and Tom and Sandhya and others are working together on kind of putting the messaging out. But the core kind of technical demos are what Ping Ping and Murat were talking about. So that is what I would kind of have the TST understand in more detail. The messaging would be a little different. And that is still being worked on from the storyboard perspective.
Thanks. Okay, so anything else, Ping Ping?
I finished.
Thanks. So Shrikant, I was afraid this was going to happen. We've run out of time. I want to do Cord justice. So can we post? Will you be available next week to talk about Cord?
Yes, Larry. Yeah, that was the plan, actually. It was.
Okay. So it's good that it all worked out this way. Yeah. Thanks. All right. So anybody have anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, just sorry, Larry. Just wanted to bring to everyone's attention the ONS call for papers is coming up on the 21st. So 2 weeks from now, 10 days from now. If there is any proposal from the Cord community, please go to the Linux Foundation ONS CFP details. If you want, let me paste the thing right here. I have pasted the URL for the CFP, and let me know if I can be of any help in coordinating some of the proposal submissions.
Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.